Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of the Regal podcast with me, Jordan Lewis. And today I'm going to be answering several of your questions, as well as some questions that I know that you need the answers to in order to improve and grow in both your business and personal life. So, without further ado, let's get straight into the questions. First up, we have question number 1. What is the most attractive trait a man can have, generally speaking? Now, this is a great question, and a question that I would assume that most men, if not all men, have wondered at some point. What is the most valuable trait to have in terms of being attractive to your ideal partners? So, the first thing that I want to point out is that what is the most attractive trait will vary from person to person and niche to niche, for lack of a better phrase. So the type of partner that you are interested in will have different, vastly different in some cases, ideals for what will be the most valuable and attractive to them. And that's an important thing to remember. And that isn't to say that you should pretend to be the type of person that is most attractive to your ideal person or ideal partner. You should be who you are and who you genuinely want to be. Strive to be the best version of yourself, and there will be a person out there or group of people out there that find who you are and what you are more attractive anyway, or at least more attractive than your competitors. So now that we've established that it varies from person to person and niche to niche, so the type of person you're trying to attract will find different things attractive, you should also just remember that you shouldn't want to be attractive to everybody. You should want to essentially be able to attract the type of person that you find attractive. And even if nobody else finds you attractive, that's not a problem. So now that we've kind of established that is the fundamental of attractiveness, some people will find you attractive, some people won't, and that's okay. Now to answer the question of what is, generally speaking, the most attractive trait. And I've kind of found one trait, overarching trait, that is the most attractive to the most people, especially in the case of a man trying to attract a woman. But also just men generally trying to attract a partner, whether it be a man or a woman. And that is confidence. First of all, confidence in yourself. And this basically means being confident in yourself in terms of loving who you are, accepting who you are, and also knowing that you are working to be the best version of yourself possible. And this can manifest itself in several ways. First of all, you know that you are good at what you do, and you are confident in your ability to get the job done. And one way that you can kind of reaffirm this is by practicing the skills that you need and actually being good at your job, your hobbies, your sports that you might be engaging in, being confident in generally, like in terms of your speech, your tonality, your body language. All of these things will help you come across as more confident, and you will, over time, as you become more confident, you'll become even more confident quicker because it's a positive feedback loop. And the other thing this means is being confident in what you say. And one way that you can sort of see this, and one way that you can sort of exude this, is by saying what you're going to do and doing what you say you are going to do. And by doing these things, you will first of all come across as somebody with integrity, somebody who knows what they're talking about, and somebody who is honest about their intentions. And all of these things will make you more attractive to the majority of people. And additionally to that, if you say you're going to do something and then consistently prove to people that you can, first of all, you have the ability to, and secondly, that you are willing to do that thing, even if it's just because you've said that you're going to do it, In fact, especially if it's because you said you are going to do it, then that is a sign that you are confident in yourself and that you have the ability to back up that confidence. And those are two things that are going to be super, super attractive to basically anybody. And another way that you need to consider confidence is the confidence in the sense of the confidence in your decisions and your ability to make decisions, which is another form of confidence in yourself, but this is specific to decision making. For most decisions, it is super, super attractive if you can make decisions instantly, quickly at the very least, and you don't try and back out of the decisions that you've made. You stick by those decisions. And this is true for 99% of the decisions that you make. And that doesn't mean that you should just jump in head first and be really rash with any decision that you make. So there are some decisions, in this case we'll say irreversible decisions, long-term decisions that will impact you and those around you for the long term that you can't just take back and change your mind at any given point. Those are decisions that you should spend time thinking about, considering your options, and that will make you seem like you're a very logical, well-measured person. But for 99% of decisions, it's very, very attractive for you to just say, right, let's do option 1, option 2, option 3, let's go. I want to do this, let's go. Even if you ask for the opinion of your partner in this case and say, well, what do you want to do? They say, oh, I don't know, I don't mind what we do. You choose. That's when you go, right, okay, let's go. Option A, let's go. Stick by it. Don't doubt yourself. And by making these decisions quickly, decisively, confidently, knowing that you are able to make those decisions, will then instill confidence not only with you within yourself, but your partners will have confidence in you to make decisions, and that will only make you more attractive to them. And to give you kind of an example of this, the classic example that most people will go through is, oh, what do you want to eat tonight for dinner? Whether it be a takeaway or cooking a meal, whatever it might be, eating out at a restaurant when COVID obviously kind of relaxes a bit. And most people, the conversation probably goes something like this. So you ask your partner, oh, what do you fancy for dinner tonight? They say, oh, I don't really mind, what do you fancy? And then you go, oh, no, honestly, like, you choose. And you're kind of deflecting the decision back onto them, and then you go on this cycle for however long until one of you finally caves and just makes a decision for the sake of it. And that is, that's going to reduce how attractive your partner finds you massively, especially if you're doing that with every decision, no matter how big or small. Whereas if you ask your partner what they fancy for dinner, because maybe they do have a preference, they say, I don't mind, you choose, and then you're instantly making a decision, you're making a snap decision, right, okay, you don't know what you want for dinner, I'm going to say, let's go eat out at this restaurant we've been wanting to try. You make that decision, you stick by it, and you just take action immediately. That is going to show yourself and prove to yourself that you are capable of making at least small decisions quickly and confidently, and you will feel more confident in yourself. You will then subconsciously have these more confident body language, tonalities. You'll start using more confident language, generally speaking. You'll make more decisions because of a positive feedback loop from that, and your partner will see you as a more confident, decisive person. They will potentially begin relying on you for decisions more, and ultimately they will find you more attractive. Now, like I said at the start, this is applicable to whether you are a man or a woman, but this is especially true for men. You need to be decisive. You need to be able to make decisions quickly. You need to be able to think on your feet, and you need to be able to back up and stand behind your decisions once you have made them. So this is kind of the big thing that a man or people generally can do to be more attractive to any type of partner that you may want. And then outside of that, it's up to you to figure out what are the specific things for your specific group, your target partners, that you basically should then try and become, or strive to be in order to be more attractive to them. But that's kind of the big one, generally speaking, is that you want to be confident in yourself and your decisions. Okay, question 2. What are your thoughts on Bill and Melinda Gates divorcing after 27 years? Okay, so this is an interesting one because I saw this article actually, or was it a social media post? I forget, but I saw it this morning, talking about how Bill Gates, the founder of Microsoft, and Melinda Gates, his wife, are divorcing after 27 years of marriage. And I mean, I obviously don't know specifically what you mean by thoughts. That's quite generic, but I will kind of give you my overarching thoughts that kind of came to me when I read this. Now, the social media post I read is that they've been trying to make the marriage work essentially, but they've just kind of the idea I'm kind of getting is that they don't love each other anymore. There's kind of no point continuing the marriage. Now, generally speaking, my advice with relationships is that you should do what makes you happiest and what is in the best interest for everybody involved within that relationship. And ultimately, I think that if Bill and Melinda aren't in love, I don't know, they're not happy from the relationship. I believe they said that they can't offer one another anything more from the relationship, to paraphrase, I believe. Then I don't feel that it's worth being in the relationship. And I don't think there's anything wrong with admitting that you're not getting anything from the relationship anymore. It's not benefiting either of you, to kind of take a pragmatic stance on it. So I don't think there's anything wrong with at that point saying, well, look, we've tried to make it work. We aren't getting any value from the relationship or one another. We're not helping one another grow anymore. It's time to just end this relationship because it's in the best interest for everyone. I don't see a problem with that at all, especially if it's an amicable breakup, which from what I have seen and heard and read, it is. So ultimately, regardless of what I think anyway, it's up to them. That is their choice, that is their relationship. So no matter what I say, even if I said, oh, it's horrible, it's wrong, why are you doing that? It's their choice because it's their relationship. So I don't feel that anybody else should have any say in what they choose to do. That said, if you want my more specific thoughts, I am not an advocate of divorce, as I don't think anybody is, because obviously if you get married, the intention is to get married for life, not to then divorce. Nobody gets married with the intention of divorce, unless you're a gold digger, I suppose. But if we assume that everybody, or most people at least, get married, and we assume that Bill and Melinda Gates have got married with the intention of staying married for life, not to get divorced further down the line, then it's kind of, obviously it's not an ideal situation. It's not ideal that they've been divorced. Obviously it's not ideal for their children, although I believe they are all grown up. It's still not ideal to see your parents separate. But according to what I have read as well, they have gone through, like they've said they've tried to make this relationship work. I would assume they've gone to some form of counselling, couples counselling. And if they've really tried and exhausted every other option to try and make a relationship work, especially if it's a relationship that's lasted 27 years, it's worth trying and fighting to make it work. If they've really tried to make that relationship work and they just can't or won't for whatever reason, then I think it is in the best interest of themselves and their children and of course their friendship groups and business partners and everyone that has ever interacted with them. It is in their best interest to end that relationship and allow one another to live and grow independently of one another. Now, am I of the belief that any relationship could be fixed? No. I think there are some relationships, especially in the case of a partner cheating or breaking trust in some other way, I think there are relationships that can't be fixed. Obviously, I don't believe that Bill or Melinda have cheated or done anything of that sort. It could just be this amicable, they've fallen, drifted apart, they can't help each other grow. And I think that's just how you need to be with relationships. Try and make them work, but don't keep a relationship, whether it be romantic, business, or friendship, working, and don't stay with someone and maintain that relationship if it's just not benefiting anybody and it's not bringing this value. And indeed, you don't even want that relationship. If you don't want to be in that relationship and it's not benefiting you, then is it really worth maintaining? Try what you can, but people need to get better at saying no to relationships and ending them when they need to be ended. Marriage generally, obviously you need to, with a marriage, it's worth trying to make it work. Because you married that person, there must have been a reason that you chose to make that lifetime commitment to them at some point or another. But with a friendship, with a standard relationship, life is too short to stay in relationships for, I don't know. I know people that have stayed in relationships for 5 to 10 years with somebody that they just don't love anymore. They don't even want to be in the relationship. They're just doing it out of comfortability, fear of being alone. But at the end of the day, it's not like it is much worse for you to stay in a relationship, whether it be a business, a friendship, or a romantic relationship that is not good for you, or indeed bad for you, and also the other person, than it would be for you to potentially have to be single for a few months, a year. It's better for you and them to be honest and open about what you want, to end that relationship if need be. So generally, what are my thoughts on them divorcing? It's obviously not an ideal situation. It's not the best possible situation, because the best possible situation would be that they could stay together and they could be happy doing so. And I'm sure that they are both heartbroken about this end situation that they are in now, and my thoughts are with them, and I hope both of them get through this okay, and I hope that they come out the other side happier, better, and stronger. But generally, I think this is the best decision for them if this is what they genuinely feel they need to do. So, good question, and yeah, I wish them both the best. Okay, question 3. What is the single biggest mistake a business owner can make and are making when they first start out? Okay, this is a great question, and I think every business owner, or most business owners, have made these at some point. I know that I sure have. I would say the number one mistake that business owners can make and are making when they're first starting out in any business, in any industry, doing anything, is that they are focusing on the wrong things. And by the wrong things, I mean they are focusing on anything other than non-revenue generating activities. Now, this isn't to say that every action you take is revenue generating, because maybe it won't be, and it can't be in most cases. You have to run the admin side of your business. You have to maybe create content that won't necessarily generate revenue in the short term or long term. That's just a fact of life. That said, you should be spending, I would say, 80% of your time, maybe 70% if you're doing self-development of your working time, doing revenue generating activities. And this is essentially what you need to be spending this amount of time. You need to be getting booked on to 7 to 10 business calls, consultancy calls a week in order to really grow a business successfully. Because if you're not hitting those numbers, you're just not going to be able to get the clients or customers that you need, and you're not going to be able to grow your business. And then you're not going to be able to get to a stage where you can pay other people to do the non-revenue generating activities, and you can spend your time doing the revenue generating activities. So I think this is kind of the one big mistake that business owners are making when they first start out. They're wasting time focusing and spending most of their time worrying about things that just really don't matter. They don't progress your business as such. They're not helping you get your next client. They're not helping you get paid. They're not helping you pay your team members. They're not helping you take your business from 0 to 100,000 or 100,000 to 1 million or whatever goal you're trying to hit. Because ultimately, a business needs to make money to survive, to grow, to flourish, to achieve any other goal that you might have for yourself and for your business. And if your business isn't achieving that, then you need to kind of reevaluate, well, what am I spending most of my time doing? And then what are the activities I should be spending my time on that will get me money and are directly going to make me money? So, to give you a specific example, when I first started out in my business, I, as you probably know, was working 16 hours a day. And at a glance, you could think, well, if I'm working 16 hours a day, 6 days a week, that's a lot of hours. That's, I can't do the maths off the top of my head, but 120-ish hours, I believe it was. If I'm working that much a week, you would think, well, I must have loads of clients. I must be doing loads of client work. But the truth is, at that point, I was doing no client work because I had no clients at that point, and I spent most of my time, you'd think I would spend at least 8 hours of that, I don't know, calling potential clients, emailing them, connecting with them on social media. And the truth is I wasn't. I was spending maybe a couple of hours a week, doing client acquisition. That's a week. In 120 hours, I was spending maybe 2 hours a week doing that. So what was I spending the rest of my time doing? Creating, rewriting my website, designing logos, banners, trying to decide on certain names for certain things, refining packages. And it's important to have this stuff down, and it's important to reevaluate what you're doing and make changes when necessary. But when I'm spending almost all of my 16-hour days, 6 days a week for at least a few months just working on the website, I've got to ask myself, first of all, I must be wasting so much time, I must not be working very efficiently for me to take that long to do something. And secondly, why am I spending so much time doing that? Because at that point, for the first few months, I had no clients, I was making no money, yet I was spending all my time working. Well, obviously, what I'm doing isn't right. What I'm doing is wrong. It's not working. I'm not making any money. So then I kind of learned to make this shift to spending most of my time, at least double of my content creation time, is the kind of rough figure I used initially, on client acquisition. And this is, for me, this is the most important thing for me. So that's connecting with new people on social media. That is nurturing those relationships. That's getting these people onto client calls, potentially sales calls. That is cold calling potential prospects. That is emailing potential prospects. All of these things I'm spending doing client acquisition. And I'm probably spending, well, it's at least 3 or 4 hours of a 7-day workday a week. Each day, I'm spending 3 to 4 hours doing client acquisition, or equally stuff that's just going to make me money. So again, this could include client work, writing ebooks, developing courses, stuff that will actually generate cash for my business. So I've gone from 2 hours in a 120-hour work week to more than half of each and every day on client acquisition or client work. And on top of that, I've also still got my self-development. I'm still doing admin stuff. I'm still making changes to my website, my social media, my logo as I need to, the copy for whatever else there might be. I'm still creating all my content, but I now have a strong focus on client acquisition and doing the client work, the stuff that is going to get me money. And if you can make this same change, if you can figure out what the number 1, 2, and 3 things are that are going to make your business money, you need to spend at least 80% of your time then. I know I said 70, but let's say 80. 80% of your time doing those things that are actually making you money. And then you'll be able to kind of figure out, well, if you're spending all this time, then there's going to be 20% of that 80% of client acquisition that are making you the most money. So you can spend even more time doing those. And then you have a direct return on your investment, and that will only boost your motivation. It will boost your efficiency, and it will help you grow your business to a point where you can actually pay somebody to do all of the non-revenue generating activities. So then you can spend even more time generating revenue, and therefore grow your business even more, and then it's just an endless cycle where you just get more money, more growth, more success. So I hope that answers your question. That's definitely the biggest mistake that I've made, biggest mistake that a ton of business owners have made. And if you can make that change in your business and shift your focus and understand that yes, yes, content creation is important. Yes, the marketing side, the branding side is important, but it's only a small part of what you need to be doing. The majority should be client acquisition or client work or something getting you money, revenue generating activities. If you can make that shift in your mentality, because that's what it is, a mental shift of focus, you'll find that you are seeing much, much faster growth in your business. You're getting, at the very least, more client calls booked, more sales calls, so you're getting more practice, you're getting better at them, you're closing more, you're getting more money, and so on. It's just a cycle that you then need to repeat until you hit the level of success that you want, essentially. Okay, so I hope that answers your question. Great question. Question number 4. Should you keep items for sentimental value, or is it a waste, and why do we keep sentimental value items? Okay, so sentimental items, for those who don't know, is essentially items that don't necessarily have any practical or pragmatic kind of value. You don't necessarily need them in your life, but you keep them for whatever reason, whether it be because a relative gave you them or because you have some kind of story, history with this item, whatever it might be. And to answer the first part of your question, should you keep items for sentimental value or is it a waste? From a pure logical standpoint, it is a waste. From a minimalist logical standpoint. But that's about it. If I don't view sentimental items to be a waste generally. It depends what sense you mean waste. If you mean it's a waste in the sense of you're spending resources on something that you don't necessarily get value from in terms of money or whatever it might be, then yeah, fair enough, it's a waste. But sentimental items that you keep, you don't keep for the practical value they give you. You keep them for the story, the connection you have with it. It's the same as like having a hobby. Now, in the strictest sense, does a hobby bring you value in terms of money? No. So does that mean you should just not pursue hobbies? Definitely not. Hobbies are healthy. They're a part of what makes you a person. They are part of your personality. So hobbies are an essential part of enjoying yourself, because if you're working all the time, if you're spending all of your time doing things that are purely designed to make you money, you just won't enjoy your life. You'll feel burned out. It's the same with sentimental items. If all you own is practical items, sure, fair enough, you'll have much more space in your cupboards or wardrobes. You will, in theory, be more productive. But it's those sentimental items that make you a person and not a robot. It's those sentimental items that give you personality, a story, and stories that you can then tell other people. So, I mean, for example, you can actually see it behind me, just here, if I can figure out how to point properly. I've got a pocket watch. I don't necessarily use that pocket watch to tell the time every day because, I have this watch, I have my clock on my phone. So why do I keep it? I keep it because, first of all, it was a present from my mother for my 21st birthday, I believe it was. And secondly, because it has that sentimental value. I've always wanted to own a pocket watch. I've always thought it would be cool to own. I like the aesthetic of the pocket watch. And equally, it then has story and value behind it to me. And I personally feel that because, to me, this pocket watch is highly valuable, but to everybody else, or almost everybody else on the planet, that pocket watch means nothing. That to me makes it that bit more special and that bit more unique, and hence it gives myself and the item in question a personality, a uniqueness that basically, again, like I said before, is what makes us human. So that's kind of what you want to think about with that. And then the second part of that question, which I've kind of touched on, why do we keep sentimental value items? And the answer is quite simple, really. When we buy based on emotion. And when we have an item or anything in our lives, we do it based on emotion. And even with practical value items, we buy them because it fills an emotional need, helps us avoid pain usually, or of course helps us move towards pleasure. But in the case of sentimental value items, it's the same concept. It's just that we've attached that item to a story, to an emotion, to a nostalgia, to even another person, especially if it's something you've inherited. And then we keep it because it helps us it helps us revive that feeling. It helps us continue feeling it. Argument's sake, I have attached that stopwatch to a feeling of closeness with my mum when she gave it to me on my birthday, and therefore every time I get up in the morning and wind that watch, I have that same feeling, even in part revived, and it makes me feel good in the morning. Now, this can obviously be more or less extreme depending on the story and the scenario in which that you got that item. For example, if your father passed away and gave you a watch, then that could have a much stronger emotional connection, and it's almost your way of remembering him and having an emotional connection to him through this item, basically. So I don't feel that sentimental value items are a waste, unless you are a purely pragmatic, practical person, which very, very few people are. And if you want to have an essence of humanity and you want to basically have this element of uniqueness and something that is just yours and true to you and your experiences, I don't feel that sentimental items are a waste. And if you want to keep sentimental items, then keep them by all means. Don't let anybody tell you otherwise. Maybe don't be a hoarder. Do what you want, but hoarding I don't feel is a healthy obsession. So maybe don't hoard. But if you want to keep sentimental items, by all means do so. And equally, if you don't want to, if you feel that you only want to have items that are going to bring practical value to your life, then get rid of your sentimental value items. That is completely up to you. Okay, hope that answers your question. On to the next one. I always get angry when I'm tired or stressed. How can I stop this happening, especially as I find that I end up taking this out and lashing out at my loved ones? So this is a great question, and I can answer from my personal experience because I used to be a very, very angry person, very similar to you actually. I knew that when I was tired or stressed or doing something that wasn't quite going my way, my immediate reaction was to get angry. And when I get angry, I went through a phase of stereotypically punching things, like walls and maybe chairs. And equally as well, I would get angry and I would start snapping at whoever it was that was closest to me, whether it be my mum, my brother, my partner at the time, whatever it might have been. And it's just not healthy, and it's not productive, and it's not beneficial for your relationship. And of course, if you're hitting things, then you're causing physical damage to things, and then you've got to pay for repairs or whatever else it might be. Or worse, of course, you could hurt yourself. I didn't personally, but I know that people who have punched walls when they get angry, they would, I don't know, fracture their bones in their hands. And that's obviously not good. So to answer your question, how can I stop this happening? The key is not to stop it happening because, well, the key is not to stop yourself getting angry when you are tired, stressed, or whatever it might be that causes it. Because anger is a natural emotion. And if you try and force yourself to not feel anger, when in reality you are, because you can't control when you do or don't feel angry. Like emotions just happen. You can't control the emotion itself. You can only control the results of you feeling that emotion. So the question should not be how can you stop it happening? Because if you stop yourself from feeling what you feel, you're not stopping it. You're just burying that feeling, and that's then going to build and build and build, and then one day it's like a bottle, it'll explode, and you'll just have a burst of anger and take it out on people and have this underlying resentment when it just really isn't needed. So the question is not how do you stop being angry? Your question instead should be how do you find a more productive use for your anger? Because there is good use and bad use for your anger. Because if you think about it like this, anger is just energy. Now, it's a specific type of energy. You can either take out this energy and burn this energy by punching a wall, or having a panic attack, or shouting, or you can then channel that energy and that anger into something more productive, which is exactly what I did. Now, it's worth noting I'm not perfect. There are times where I will still snap at my partner. There's times where I don't punch anything anymore, admittedly, but there are times where I'll get angry and I'll be wound up and I won't do anything with it. But generally speaking, I've got quite good at, when I feel angry, I do something that either relieves that anger, uses up that energy, or I turn that anger into something really productive. So usually for me this means I go for a walk, and going for walks help me clears my head, reset my emotional levels, my energy levels, and really kind of takes me out of that angry, destructive state that I was in. And also I find that this helps with my creativity because I have a lot of creative bursts while I'm on this walk, especially because it's then spending that energy in terms of me physically walking and me mentally thinking about various problems that I may be facing, various ideas that I want or need to consider. And then that's kind of my way of dealing with it. Some people go to the gym and work out. Some people will, I don't know, play a game of chess and mentally spend that energy. Some people will have a debate with someone. Some people will just meditate out of that state. Some people, for example, musical artists, will spend this anger, this energy, in the form of creating a song that channels that anger and that energy. You know, you've seen this with Marshall Mathers, Eminem. He's done this famously. He talks about his anger and writes in quite an angry way with a lot of his music. And this is something quite common that we see now with artists, especially rappers. Artists, in terms of painters, do this a lot. They paint their emotions onto a canvas. And this is quite a productive way of dealing with it. And it's basically just finding a positive way that you can channel this energy. So find what works for you. You know, try going for walks, try going to the gym, try painting, try playing a musical instrument, try singing, whatever it might be. Just try these different things. And if at the end of the walk you don't feel like your anger has been cleared, okay, then go to the gym and work out, or try singing, or try learning the musical instrument, or try these other options. And eventually you will find something that you can channel your anger into, or as a matter of fact, any emotion into that might have otherwise destructive capabilities. You can then channel into something else, and that's all what it's about. It's not about stopping the emotion. It's not about controlling your anger as such. It's about controlling the outcome of you having that emotion. So instead of you getting angry and, say, from your example, punching a wall, or taking it out on a loved one, instead of doing that, even if you have to say to, let's use your partner example, you say to your partner, when you get angry, I'm a bit pissed off right now, can you give me an hour just to do what I need to do to process this anger effectively, so that I then don't take this out on you, or have a go at you, or snap at you. And obviously if you've got a good, honest, open relationship that you've established based on the countless hours of tips and advice that we've given both me and Harry through previous podcasts, then your partner will sort of accept that, say, okay, no problem, go do what you need to do. You go to the gym, you go for a run, walk, you practice on a guitar, piano, you do whatever you need to do. And then you can return back to the relationship and say, like, look, I've had that hour, I've expressed that anger now, I'm relaxed, I'm fine. And then you can either talk through the thing that made you angry, if it's your partner making you angry, or indeed, even if it's not, just talk through what actually made you angry. And then you can, in the future, you can try and avoid that situation in the future, or at least reduce your exposure to it. So maybe you find that you get angry every time you talk to a certain person. Well, the honest answer there is just stop talking to that person. Because if a person makes you angry every time you talk to them, then that's the sign of a problem. Now, one-off situations are obviously a bit different, but that's kind of the way you need to look at things, is reduce your exposure to something that makes you angry or stressed, And when you do get angry or stressed, have a process in place that helps you vent that anger in a productive way. And I think that answers your question. Yeah, so especially as you take it out on your loved ones, that's just a simple case of you need to make your loved ones understand that when you're angry, you have a tendency to do that, and you need to be self-aware enough to know that. I know that I do that. So then when I'm angry or upset, I will say to my partner, unless I want to speak to them about it, I will say to my partner, like, look, I'm angry, I'm upset, I'm just going to go for a walk on my own, take my mind off things. And by the end of the walk, I find that after half an hour, I'm completely fine. I come back, give my partner a hug, say thank you for giving me space, and we're good. Even if the argument is with my partner, sometimes you just need to take a minute, chill out, calm down, refocus, because then I can discuss whatever the issue may be with them in a calm, clear-headed manner, and actually resolve the issue, rather than just getting more and more wound up and causing more problems. So, I hope that answers your question. Right, final question for today's episode. Question 6. How can you stick to your goals and targets in business and fitness and your personal life without without being distracted or losing sight of the end goal? That's a good question, and it's something that I've definitely dealt with before, because it's all well and good setting a target and a goal, but if you can't follow through on the steps you need to make it a reality, and you can't do that consistently, well, then you're in trouble, because essentially, how are you going to be able to achieve those goals? And first of all, don't worry, this is something that I know a lot of people deal with, if not everybody deals with at some point, really. The first thing that you kind of need to do is understand why you've set the goals in the first place. So when I first started my business, I set myself the goal of by July this year, I am going to have earned £1 million. And nothing wrong with that goal, except for the fact that I didn't know why I had set myself that goal. I just thought, oh, a million, nice round number, nice big number, wouldn't need to worry about money, might as well just go for it. But that isn't really a justification. You need to know the specifics of why you want to learn that thing or why you want to achieve that goal. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to do it, especially if it's a big goal. Because if it's a big goal, like earning £1 million in a year is a big goal, if I don't know the specifics, the exact reasons, the nitty-gritty of why I want to do it and why it's worth putting in hundreds of hours every week or month, and missing out on going out, seeing friends just so I can work, if I don't know why I'm doing that, then I'm not going to be able to achieve it, because you need to kind of negotiate with yourself. And that's kind of a big problem that a lot of people face, is that you don't even understand why you've set the goals you need to set. So first step then is figure out what it is you want to achieve. In terms of what your life would look like rather than the goal. So for me, it was a case of, well, what do I want my life to look like in a year's time, when I rethought my goals and kind of considered them. So I would like multiple team members working at Regal Marketing, so that they can handle the kind of the videography side, the photography side, and also I would like a personal assistant. So that's kind of 3 big things. I would like to be able to go on holiday when lockdown ends. I would like to have enough money that I can afford to support myself going once I finish university anyway, which is obviously next year. So I want to be able to have enough money to support myself so that I can live wherever I want to in any city. If I want to stay in Leicester, then I will, or I can go somewhere else. So that these are kind of just an example anyway of a few things that I really considered. Those are things that I want, and you'll know what it is you want from your life. And if you don't, just spend a little bit of time genuinely thinking, just be honest with yourself, what it is you want. What do you want your life to look like? And equally, what do you want your life to not look like in a year's time, in 2 years, 3 years, blah, blah, blah. So now you have what you want your life to look like. There are certain, especially in terms of financial goals, that you can work towards that will help you achieve that, basically. So for me, I actually use a Google Sheets document I created from the 4-Hour Workweek by Tim Ferriss. And this sheet, you basically put in various different things with their monthly costs, their upfront costs, and then it automatically calculates how much you would need to make per month and per week to achieve that. So with your financial goal, for me now anyway, is 3.9k a month consistently. So once I can hit that point, I can afford everything that I want to achieve within the next year. Fantastic. That's what I need. Now, obviously, once I achieve that, I will have a higher goal that I then work towards, and so on and so on. But at this point in time, I've calculated specifically what I want my life to look like, what elements that has in, and then how much it would cost me for each individual element, and then how much that translates to every month and week. So now I know exactly what I'm working towards and why I'm working towards it. And because I've actually written it out and thought it through, I now constantly have this in my front of mind. So if I feel tired, like, oh, why don't I just bin off the next few hours of work that I've got today? I think, well, actually, if I do that, then I'm not going to be able to live where I want in after I finish my third year. I'm not going to be able to go on that holiday with M. I'm not going to be able to continue growing my business and manage my degree at the same time. And I'm not going to be able to achieve these things that I really genuinely do want to achieve. So because I have an understanding of why I'm doing it, I can then understand what I need to achieve. And once you understand that, that's kind of a really good starting place to kind of achieve those goals. And it's also then important, once you know what you want to achieve as an overarching goal. So for me, 3.9k a month every month, I then need to know what exactly I should be doing to achieve those things. And that goes back to the revenue generating activities I talked about earlier. So for me, that includes client acquisition in the form of going on social media, building new connections, fostering current connections, getting people on client calls, cold calling potential clients, cold emailing potential clients. Once COVID ends, hopefully meeting potential clients in person at events and the like. So then now I understand exactly what steps I should be taking. Consistent content is another one. And now that I understand that those are the consistent steps I need to and will be taking to achieve that goal, I can then basically make sure that I'm doing those as much as possible, ideally every day at least, for the majority of every day. And that's kind of how I'm going to get towards that goal of 3.9k a month. And once you understand what you need to achieve your goal specifically and your dream life, you can then move on to holding yourself and equally having others hold you accountable to those activities and to that goal. So one thing that I quite like to do is, I know that as part of my goal to achieve 3.9k a month, I need to be waking up consistently at the same time every day. So for me, that is 7 a.m. That is when I've chosen I want to get up. That is when I find I'm most productive, 7 to 8 a.m. So that is why I have my magic time during that time, and that is why I want to get up at that time every day. So I have a running bet almost, or an accountability challenge running with my mate Harry, who also runs this podcast. And I basically say to him, like, look, every time, because I know my big problem for not getting up early is that I stay up too late. So I say to him, look, every time I'm on my phone past 10 p.m., which is when I usually want to come off my phone, every time I message him or he sees that I'm active on social media, he can then hold me accountable and say, like, look, you're not sticking up to what you need to achieve your goal. And then I will pay him, I believe it's £5 every time, which doesn't sound like much, but if I have a week off, like a week of not waking up at the right time, that's then racking up to 35 quid. And Harry does this thing as well where he will buy cigars with the money that I send him, and then when he's smoking them, he'll rub it in my face. And then I think, oh, well, not only am I suffering the short-term effects of not having money, but I'm now having it rubbed in my face because Harry is able to enjoy a cigar when I can't, and I'm then not achieving my long-term goal. So it's kind of a triple whammy accountability. And you can set up something similar, or equally you can just kind of hold yourself accountable if you have that kind of willpower. I know that for certain things I don't, and I'm honest with myself with that, which is why I then not rely on, but I work with Harry because I have similar bets with Harry on his end, and we kind of go that way. And that is how I hold myself accountable to that specific activity. I know that my partner holds me accountable to make sure that I am doing enough client acquisition every week. I'm spending enough time on revenue generating activities. And if I've not, and if she asks me or I mention that I've not done that much that week, she'll be like, oh, well, why not? Why aren't you working towards your goal? Are you not taking it seriously? And the truth is, maybe I'm not at that point, and then I can get back on track. And the last thing that I want to talk about is visualization, especially future pacing. And that is the idea of literally visualizing yourself in your dream life, having achieved your goals. So, for example, another goal of mine is that I want to be below 15% body fat by the 1st of March next year. Reason being is because I want to, ironically, stereotypically, sorry, I want to have my summer body ready because then I'm going to be going on holiday next year, lockdown permitting. And the thing I actually visualize is quite specific. It's me sitting or laying on one of the sunbeds next to the pool, being able to confidently lay with my shirt off without feeling self-conscious about my body, what anyone might be thinking. And that's kind of the thing that I'm visualizing. Me with a body that I'm happy with, not necessarily ripped, but below the 15% body fat mark. Because that goal in and of itself doesn't mean anything really. 15% body fat, okay, fine, it's specific, it's clear, it's achievable, but it doesn't really have that emotional connection. Whereas me being able to comfortably and confidently lay out on a sunbed, get a suntan, go in a pool with my top off, and not feel self-conscious, that to me, it has that emotional connection. And me being able to visualize that, because I've visualized myself having done it, I'm now getting the dopamine and the rewards of having done it before I've even done it. And also I talk in terms of, for example, when I write it down in my journal every morning, because I write down my 3 big goals in my journal, which is number 1, earn 3.9k a month by the 1st of July this year. Number 2, be below 15% body fat by the 1st of March next year. And number 3, be able to hold a 5-minute fluent conversation in French by the 1st of March next year as well. And because I write it down every day, I write it down in the sense of I will do it. So I say I will be earning 3.9k a month every month by the 1st of July this year. I say that I will be, and I talk in terms of I will do something, because that just it removes any of that doubt, it removes that lack of confidence, and it makes my goals something that will happen rather than something that could happen or even something that should happen. So that's kind of my logic with that. So that's kind of the 3 big ways that you can kind of stick to your goals and targets. Make sure that you hold yourself accountable. Make sure that you're visualizing your goal and you're writing it down consistently. Keep it in the front of your mind. Make sure you understand why you are actually moving towards that. And if you can do all of those things and you understand exactly what it is you need to be doing to achieve those goals, then you will achieve your goals and targets. In fact, chant it right now. I will achieve goal A, B, C. You will get them done. And once you can do that, every marathon takes 100, 1,000, a million steps. So if you can start taking 1 step every single day towards these goals, taking these goals seriously, then eventually you will achieve those goals and you will find the success that you want. Okay, so thank you guys so much for the fantastic questions today. I've really enjoyed answering them. Next episode, I will be talking to Michelle Kavanagh, who is a business coach for women. And I'm really looking forward to that episode. But today's episode will be released on Saturday, so obviously you'll be watching it then. Thank you guys so much for your questions. Thank you for listening for this full episode. And as always, if you have any questions for next week or about this episode, or even if you want to come on the show as a guest, then all you need to do is drop us an email at theregalpodcast@gmail.com. It will be down in the description. So again, thank you guys so much for listening, and I will talk to you next week.